Welcome to NMDP Black Blood Heals. NMDP operates the National Registry of Blood Stem Cell Donors. Tune in as I share tools and resources on ways you can be a change agent and save a life in your community. Welcome to Black Blood Heals. I'm your host, Tamara Weston, and I am extremely excited because today starts the first day of season 5, and I am joined by two beautiful and amazing women who have joined me today to tell me about their story and their journey as they navigated through sickle cell disease. First off, to my left is this beautiful young Kelsey. Kelsey is a charismatic 12-year-old who is post-transplant from sickle cell disease. Yay! Her number one interest is art. She loves digital art, painting canvases, and I am told is exceptional at painting faces. Her dream is to someday study art and art history in Paris. Is that true?
Yes.
You're going to make it there. I am sure she gets her strength and energy from her mom, Ebony, who went from working in grants to going back to nursing school, getting her master's degree, and is now a family nurse practitioner so that she could make sure that Kelsey's was receiving the best care needed as she navigated through her crises. And they are joining me today to talk about their journeys, the need of more donors who represent ethnically diverse communities, and to just share the journeys of how we got here today. Thank you for joining me today, ladies. How are you?
We're great. Thank you for having us.
How you feel, Kelsey?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Are you happy to be here?
Yes.
So, Mom?
So blessed, so grateful to be here.
Well, I'm excited to hear your stories. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Kelsey.
Well, I'm 12 years old, going on to 13.
Okay.
I love to draw. I like digital and just painting on anything.
Okay. Anything? A napkin, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go to Paris, and I'd love to travel the world one day and become a famous artist and share my art with the world.
I love it, and I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it. Welcome, Mom. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm great. Thank you. So
Tell me a
glad to
little
be
bit
here.
about yourself.
Yeah. So we are New Orleans natives. Kelsey was born in 2012, and during that time, she was diagnosed with sickle cell disease. So she had a lot of complications, and during that time, I decided I was going to change careers, pivot completely to healthcare, so I could take care of her. We've been on quite a journey in the past year and a half with her stem cell transplant. Brought us here today.
Well, I am excited, as I said in the beginning, of having you here. I'm excited to hear your story. So let's go back to the beginning. Kelsey was born in 2012.
Correct.
When did you find out that she was suffering from sickle cell disease?
During her newborn screening. So probably she was maybe 3 or 4 days old. It was a part of the routine blood screening. I knew that there was a risk of her contracting sickle cell disease. Her father and I both have a recessive trait. So, and I also have some family members who had sickle cell disease. So I know that was a risk involved.
Okay.
So I found out very early on.
So because you had family members that were already suffering from sickle cell disease, were you already aware of a blood stem cell transplant possibility?
At the time, no. I had a cousin who unfortunately did pass away, who was in the hospital frequently, and he had done electrophoresis and things like that, but was never a candidate for blood stem cell transplant. So,
when was well, I'm sorry to hear that. When you did find out that Kelsey was diagnosed, what were your thoughts? Like, what were you thinking?
Well, I can remember the day vividly. I just felt like the wind was knocked out of me. I think I may have even fallen down to my knees when I found out the news, just because I was aware. My mother's also a nurse, so worked in healthcare, and I just knew the complications that came with sickle cell disease, and there was a lot of fear set in. But even in that moment, I accepted the diagnosis, but I had a ridiculous faith that somehow God was going to heal her permanently from that disease. I didn't know how or when, but I just knew that it wasn't going to be something that she was going to live the rest of her life with.
As she was getting older and growing, what were some of the symptoms that you saw in her as having sickle cell disease?
Right. So her first crisis was at 11 months of age.
Wow.
So it dactylitis, where she had swelling of the hands and feet, really high fevers, and just a lot of discomfort. At the time, she wasn't able to verbalize pain, but she was crying and a little bit more fussy. So at that time, she was hospitalized for about 2 weeks, had a blood transfusion, and was treated in the hospital with a PCA, a pain control device that would infuse pain medication through her IV. So, and during the course of her 12 years, she's probably been hospitalized over 35 times. She received 25 blood transfusions. So just it really manifests through pain crises, severe pain, and then sometimes fevers were also preceding those crises.
When did you first learn about NMDP?
So back then, there would be the matches before the transition.
Yes.
But this probably was in 2016, I believe.
Okay.
So I had started doing more research on blood stem cell transplants, and I decided to have that conversation with her hematologist. So we did a process where we did blood work to find out with her father and some of my siblings and I to find out if, what type of match there was. At that time, her father and I were only a haploid match or a 50-50 match. And so we didn't, at that time, was considered a little bit risky to do the blood stem cell transplant. So it was just kind of something that was delayed. Years later, she was placed on the registry of when the organization changed to NMDP, and we found a donor, a match. I believe she was a 9 out of 10 match shortly after being placed on that registry.
And just to give the audience a little bit of background, we were formerly known as Be the Match, and we became NMDP late last year, early part of last year. But for all intents and purposes, we are about 35 years old. We're a little bit over 35 years old. And we're an organization that our mission is to save lives through cell therapy. So I'm glad that you were able to have that conversation. And I'm glad that Be the Match at the time, NMDP now, was able to step in and sort of just navigate that process with you. Going back a little bit, though, when you were talking to your doctor, your hematologist, oncologist, about blood stem cell transplants and how to just go about being part of it, were you comfortable with those conversations? Did you know? Were you at that time a nurse? Had you become a nurse by that time? Or is that something that positioned you to take that journey to become a nurse?
Yes. Well, I became a nurse in 2019.
Okay.
So, and as working as a nurse in the hospital in New Orleans, I treated sickle cell patients frequently. So, just that experience, seeing the patients and the complications that they had to endure, how they navigated the healthcare system with doctors and nurses and medical providers. I was familiar with the process. We had like a consultation with her hematologist and the team, a child life specialist that talked directly with Kelsey about the process of how it would be. They provided dolls and how her central line was going to look when it was inserted. So at Children's Hospital in New Orleans, they were very helpful and providing us guidance as to how the process would look.
When you talk about central lines, give me a little bit more about that. What does that mean?
So when you go through the process of a blood stem cell transplant, typically that you have to go through a phase of chemotherapy in order to suppress your own immune system, in order to receive the donor's donation of their blood stem cells. So in order to do that, a peripheral line or a IV that goes through just a vein in the arm would not be strong enough to endure the type of medications, chemotherapy that would go through the line. So a central line is essentially a line that goes through the artery in the heart.
Okay.
So she had to go under surgery, under anesthesia to put that in. And they did that prior to setting up all of the chemotherapy that she did for 6 days prior to the actual transplant that took place.
Now, did Kelsey undergo PBSC, peripheral blood stem cell, or did she go through bone marrow?
PBSC.
Okay.
Yes, she did.
Okay. Kelsey,
Yes.
you look great.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
I feel fine. I kind of feel fine right now.
Okay. How is it now? And congratulations on just managing and being a fighter and a warrior and getting through all of this. Your smile is just it's just invigorating, and I see the happiness and joy in your face. So tell me about growing up with sickle cell disease and now not having it.
Well, growing up with sickle cell disease, you had a lot of restrictions. You couldn't go out in the cold. You had to bring medicine with you if you were gonna go somewhere. What else? Sometimes I had to bring a wheelchair with me if we walked for too long. But now, since I don't have sickle cell, I don't have to bring medicine with me everywhere. I don't have to bring a wheelchair with me, and I can be in the cold weather now, and I can do all the stuff that I can do. I can thrive now since I don't have sickle cell anymore.
Say that word again. I can thrive. Yes. So what are some of the things that you've done now that you couldn't do before, that you do now that you couldn't do before? What's your favorite thing?
Think.
Or if you have 2 or 3.
I'd say probably going out and walking places without being in pain. Being able to travel more. And not being in the hospital a lot.
I bet that was scary.
Yeah.
Mom, how was it seeing her in the hospital?
Oh, it's I in some ways envy parents that have children who have never seen the insides of an emergency room. It just became a way of life for us. So, it's just you're always in fight mode essentially, because you have to have an overnight backpack just in the case that she develops a pain crisis and has to go to the emergency room. So, and it was hard for me as a parent, but to know that she was the one having to endure this, that was probably the most painful part. So, and we're a family of faith. So whenever she would be in pain, we'd always pray and just pray to God, pray that Jesus would heal her and that would ease her. It was just something, it was hard to do. But now that we're at this phase, I am so grateful to the blessings that we've received, and so grateful to her donor that saw fit to do this. Because without that component, we wouldn't be here.
Now, have you had an opportunity to meet her donor or talk?
We haven't met her, but we were able to talk to her on the phone. NMDP is arranging a formal meeting. So we don't know exactly when that date will be, but hopefully it will be soon. But we're able to talk to her on the phone, and she, it's almost as if she's family, just her personality, her love for people, her love for God. It's just she was a perfect match. So in many ways. So
Kelsey, what are you going to say to her when you meet her for the first time? Or what do you think you'll say?
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. I'm been waiting for this my whole entire life. Thank you for donating. I'm so thankful to have a donor like you. I love your hair. I love your style.
Have you seen pictures of her?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Mom, what are you going to say? Or what do you think you'll say?
No, well, the tears will be flowing by then, I know. But I just want to thank her because I think a lot of times people, when they think about the process of blood stem cell donation, bone marrow donation, it seems like an intimidating process, when you see the size of children with pediatric cancer and things that you see. But the process, and I've even done the process myself of becoming a donor, is simply a cheek swab and you mail it off. So for her to do that and then be contacted almost 10 years later and say that they found a match, and for her to agree to do it, it's such a selfless act. And I just have to thank her, and she'll forever be in my family.
Well, NMDP, we strive to let people understand that the process of joining the registry does begin with that cheek swab. It does begin with 10 seconds on one side, 10 seconds on the other, and you mail it off. But the process in and of itself is, we want people to understand that that's the beginning of the process. The process really includes you also being committed to, when you get that call, to say, yes, I am willing to continue and become a blood stem cell donor. So we always want people to understand that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that beginning is the swabbing of the cheeks. The middle is going through and joining the registry. And the end is committing and going through with that blood stem cell donation. So if you're thinking about joining the registry, or if you have thoughts of joining the registry, please be committed to understanding and learning everything that goes into being a donor, so that, similar to Kelsey, others who are waiting for matching blood stem cell donors, or people that can help, have an opportunity to receive donations. One of the things that I have always said that I love about being host of this podcast, it gives me the chance to meet and learn so much more that I don't know. Yes, I work for NMDP. I am there every day, but it's actually talking with the guest and learning and understanding what you go through as a searching patient, now as a recipient, and what you go as a family member and a caregiver. It's the hospital visits, it's the doctor visits, it's the pain crises that you go through, it's the not being able to go outside and play with everyone else. Learning that and understanding that there is a real reason that we do this every day, right? There's a real need for it, if you will. So I thank you for teaching me, because I always feel educated after I meet with amazing people like you. Kelsey?
Yes.
What, if you could do anything tomorrow, would you want to do? You can go anywhere. You can meet anybody. And as a matter of fact, we're going to talk about that, because I heard you met someone famous. But tell me who or what you would like to do if you could tomorrow.
What I would love to do tomorrow is go to Washington, D.C. and visit the African American Museum.
Been there, done it. You're going to love it. Yes. But before you do that, how about you tell the audience about who you met, who shares your love of art, and why we're going to see you up in lights someday, I'm sure. Go ahead, tell us who you met.
I met John Baptiste.
Yes. What was that like?
Magical.
Was it the end all be all?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. For those of you that don't know, John Baptiste is a Grammy Award winning singer, and he actually just participated in a documentary, American Symphony, to which we were also mentioned. And he is familiar with blood disorders, as his wife, Suleika, has been, has gone through her journeys of suffering from a blood disease as well. So he is familiar with it. He met Kelsey. Actually, I'll let you tell it. Where did you meet him?
I met him in the hospital, and I showed him some of my art, and I actually drew a picture of him.
You did?
Yes.
Did you give it to him, or do you still have it?
I gave it to
He
him.
has your picture.
Yes.
Did you sign it?
I did.
Oh, see, I know it. I know it is going to be up on someone's wall in a couple of years. That's exciting. Mom, how was that feeling when you saw that happening? I'm sure her face was lit.
It was a great gift because he came to New Orleans, and she met him the day she was discharged from the hospital after getting her blood stem cell transplant. So they allowed her to stay an extra day so she could meet him. And he came right into her room, and he talked with her. He signed her violin. She also plays the violin. And she handed in the picture, and he loved it. And actually, a couple of weeks later, we saw him on his Instagram post. I guess he was at his home in his studio, and her picture that she painted for him was hanging on the mantelpiece. So we were really excited about that.
Nice.
And then some weeks later, she painted a self-portrait for his wife, Suleika. So we mailed that to her. So hopefully she has it somewhere too. But their story really touched us. We watched the American Symphony while she was in the hospital, and it was just a gift that she wanted to give him when she knew she was meeting him.
And how long did it take you to draw that picture?
I'm very bad at time, so but if I had to guess, which one, Suleika or John Baptiste?
The one that you gave John Baptiste.
Well, first I had to sketch it out, which probably takes 5 minutes.
Oh. I thought you were going to say a day.
It took about 2 days.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I know that we're winding down on the episode, but I want to circle back to something that you mentioned in terms of more African Americans joining the registry and for ethnically diverse communities. As you work in the hospital and you work with you see other sickle cell disease patients, why do you think, or how do you think we can get more African Americans to join the registry?
Well, I think just if people knew the other side of donation, to see Kelsey, how she, in her own words, she's thriving. If people knew how that act could essentially change a life.
Mm-hmm.
So we celebrate her blood stem cell donation date as her second birthday. So we celebrated November 7th this year as if it was another birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if people knew or were more educated about the process and knew how to start the process, as you mentioned earlier, with the swab and how it could affect the life of a person, an entire family, essentially an entire generation when you look at lineage of someone, I think people would be more inclined to donate. I think just awareness is the biggest thing.
And we at NMDP agree with you. We do agree that brand awareness is key. And we painstakingly make every effort to get that education out there. And the podcast is one of those ways. And you have now helped us with that. So I thank you. I thank you for being here today. Miss Kelsey, is there anything you would like to say before we sign off?
If you're going through something in your life that's a bit difficult or hard, don't give up. You're going to get to the finish line eventually. Family and friends and God is on your side. And don't ever let your dreams be dreams.
I don't even know how you top that. I don't even know what I can say that would make that any more special. That was amazing. You are absolutely beautiful. I am so glad to see you. Your smile is contagious. You are going to be amazing at anything you do. I hope you make it to Paris. And I do look forward to seeing your paintings on some walls someday.
Thank you.
With that being said, I'm going to bring this to a close. Miss Ebony, thank you so much for traveling and joining us today. And if you are interested in learning more about blood stem cell donation, please head over to www.nmdp.org. With that being said, as I always say, it will take all of us to save one of us. Till next time.